Now we move to golf, where the Britam Golf Series teed off yesterday at the Nyeri Golf Club, with Mike Kirimi winning the overall title. Kirimi, a member of Nanyuki Sports Club, playing off handicap 12, returned a solid score of 45 Stableford points to triumph during the tournament played at the Nyeri Club course, beating a field of 90 golfers. The series will be making a country tour, with the next events planned for Nakuru, Kisumu, Mombasa and Nairobi.
Tournament, and the idea is to help promote golf, more so from the aspect of the amateur golf, because in a big way there's been a lot of concentration on the pro golf. So Britam is coming in a great way to promote the amateur golf in the country, and I believe that is why this event is a series and will be held around the whole country.
For a pro golfer, it's always good to have other people who are amateurs to see how a pro golfer plays, so that they can learn from a pro golfer.
We just want to thank the team at Nyeri Golf Club for their support. They have been very welcoming to us. We thank you. We really appreciate by the number of golfers that have all come up to have played today. For us, it shows that they really appreciate our support, and so we are really, really delighted by the support that we have received from Nyeri Golf Club. The whole series will be about 9 million. So, but today, as you've seen, we have just contributed 800,000 to Nyeri Golf Club for this particular tournament.
That is Nyeri Golf there. But of course, as we said, this week it's all about the Kenya Open. They call it the Magical Kenya Open. Therefore, ahead of the Magical Kenya Open golf tournament, Vision 2030 Director General Kenneth Mwige has been talking about the role of the state agency in developing sports. I spoke to him when they unveiled the sponsorship of the Kenyan professionals. This is part of the interview, and after which I'll ask our guest today, Milton Nyakundi, on what he thinks about Vision 2030 and sports development in Kenya.
Kenya Vision 2030, we are all about brand building for Kenya especially, but also about delivery. So for the Kenya Open Golf Tournament, we are very, very grateful with government support. Especially, it has to be said, with the support of His Excellency the President, by putting government behind the Kenya Open. It has been upgraded from a European Challenge Tour event to a European Tour main event. So all the big names we see playing abroad, they come here. This is their tour as well. So that's a very, very big win for Kenya. We have come in as Kenya Vision 2030 to support sports, and particularly the Kenya Open, because sports is one of the constituents of one of the pillars of Vision 2030. We are going to have about 500 million people looking at Kenya, and Kenya has a chance to show 500 million people what we have. Only sports does that. If you tell us to log into a workshop to learn how to invest better, you will not find 500 million people doing that.
This is not a one-off.
It's not a one-off. For so long as I'm here, I will do my best to support the sport, and want to institutionalize it as well. So that particularly, and I think I want to make a particular plea to commercial directors, finance directors, and marketing directors in this country. This is a special request to you. Please understand that any 1 shilling you put into sponsoring a player here has the potential to give you a return measured in multiples of N. And
Standard Group have done that.
And Standard Group have done that. You've seen it. You've seen the opportunity. So we want to encourage a lot more sponsors. Next year, same time, Kenya Open 2022. We want to hear that David Waku has has been sponsored the whole year to prepare him for the next session. Not to the tune of 1, 2, 3, 4 million, Bob. That's what we want to hear. And we want to see Kenyan brands appearing. When our players are standing on the tee and their cameras focused on them, and 500 million people are looking at them, how much would you pay to have your brand appearing there?
Thank you.
Much more than you can pay right now. So get in while it's cheap before this particular micro-environment becomes competitive. And that's what we're hoping to do as Kenya Vision 2030. Under the social pillar, sports is one of the major components. Now, when you look at an event like the Kenya Open, and then you find that due to COVID and just good luck and God loving Kenya, you find that you have 2 back-to-back European Tour events. which it was a no-brainer for us at Vision 2030. Between the board and the management, it was a no-brainer. This is a golden opportunity to brand, to build the image of Kenya, and to also be part of welcoming Kenya, the world to Kenya, over a period of 2-3 weeks. 2-3 weeks. We need to stop saying that Kenya is blessed, we have good sportsmen. They don't just come out of nowhere. It takes a lot of hard work to be at the top of any sport globally. It is incredible hard work. It's your 10,000 hours of work. So for a golfer, and for those of you who have ever held a golf club, you know how difficult golf can be. By the time you are a professional, by the time you are a top professional, by the time you're being invited to play in some of these things, you are at the top of your game. You're a world-class, top-class athlete. We're supporting them directly. We want them not to struggle to catch a taxi to the venue. We want them not to struggle to pay their caddies. We want them not to struggle to eat, not to struggle. We want them to have as peaceful a mental position. We want to be as mentally strong as possible, with as few worries as possible. Because golf is a mental game. You have your physical, there's a physical aspect of golf, but 90% of golf, any golfer will tell you, is mental. We work through the Ministry of Sports. And we are very, very fortunate because the leadership is aligned right now. And they are sports lovers and they are sports invested. CS Amina Mohammed is sports invested. There's no doubt about that. If you look at the other leadership also in the ministry, they are sports invested. The Secretary for Youth, for example, very, very, very aligned and invested. So as government, there has been talk for a long time about doing a public golf course, probably at Lenana School here, with a lot of school, a lot of land. So there's been talk of that. But for us, for example, you can see we decided to hold this at Golf Park. It's also symbolic, the reason why we're here. This golf park is, I think, the home of many golfers. Many people start learning their golf here. You learn your golf here and then you eventually go into the membership clubs. So we are trying to also demystify golf as a sport. It is not just a rich man's sport. We want to see whether we can help Kenyans to see that you don't need $1 million shillings to play golf.
Well, now I'm joined by my guest, Milton Nyakundi. And Nyakundi, straight away, I just want to start from where Kenneth Mwige has just ended that discussion. And the first thing, the impression I got from Kenneth Mwige for the first time, I've never had Sports and Vision 2030 until when I spoke to him. And it just dawned on me that there are people in government who understand what needs to be done, and this is one of the persons, yet we've never heard about Vision 2030 and sports before, Milton.
Well, I first of all must appreciate that he appears to me as somebody who really understands what the gist of the so-called Kenya Vision 2030 and the social pillar, sports as one of the key drivers of that particular pillar. But be as it may, and I think this is where I would want to turn the heat against the powers that be, is that we who are in the media and who can take pride in the fact that we have information ahead of everybody else, have not heard about this until this period in time. So I think there is a big challenge in terms of how the Kenya Vision 2030 has been executed, and kudos to the gentleman, about 6 or so months into the job, and we are beginning to see that particular aspect. Now, I have been very critical about how the social pillar and sports especially has been executed within the framework of the Kenya Vision 2030, because a lot of the people that have been there before didn't quite seem to understand, and therefore we've not had the progress that was envisioned at the time of crafting the Kenya Vision 2030. Now, Robin, I think, yes, it's a good thing that we are seeing Kenya Vision 2030 and sport now coming into the limelight. Exactly. But I think a lot more needs to be done in terms of, then getting it right and making sure that we get the right fusion of ideas and execution that will then help the intended, objective to be achieved. Now, of course, never mind the fact that, I still have my questions about why the Kenya Vision 2030 looked at sport as, you know, one of the anchors of the social pillar. Of course, sport plays a big role in, you know, putting together the social fabric. But I think it is also a major economic contributor that we perhaps have missed so many a time, to the extent that that is why, for example, it has taken about, you know, 18 years or so, and we still are struggling to mainstream it into the, you know, I mean, you've seen the infrastructure that under the Kenya Vision 2030, the roads, you know, the expansion of other infrastructure, the ports and everything. But in terms of sports, a lot has not been achieved. Sure. And, you know, if you look at the MTP, the medium-term plan analysis, and you see what has been achieved within the meaning of sports projects, you see very little, and it is under 30%, a lot of which has been achieved over the course of the last 1 year or 2 years or 18 months, which again speaks volumes about, you know, the people in government, really what their mindset is about sports. And I say so without any fear of contradiction. But then, give credit where it is due. It is finally coming to light.
Exactly. And that's why Kenneth Mwige was talking about all the arms, you know, being aligned, that the sports ministry under Ambassador Amina Mohammed, at least we've seen that she's you know, getting into top gear now to ensure that certain facilities are in place. The contracts that had been signed and nothing was being delivered is now happening. And that's, I think, where Mwige is coming in from, the fact that there's that alignment now, because they also operate under the sports ministry. Previously, Milton, will you agree with me that there was no kind of, you know, alignment that we are seeing today?
Well, there are two things, Robin. The first and most important one is within the structure of government. The Kenya Vision 2030 is domiciled in the office of the president, if I'm not wrong. I believe that is where it is domiciled. But then it cuts across because of how its implementation is supposed to be. So if you have a director general at the secretariat who does not then appreciate that aspect, that they have to work with several other ministries and sagas, as they were, state agencies for that matter, then you have a problem. And that is why I laud Ken for what he is finally doing, although then some of us would be critical in terms of, yes, the magical Kenya Open is a good place to start, but there are several other components that he now needs to get into for that, you know, the social pillar, as it were, for it to be achieved using sports as a driver. Because, Robin, I'll tell you, yesterday, like every other Sunday, I was attending, you know, one of the grassroots football events in uko mashinani, mtaani. And you see the passion. That is football. You will find the same thing if you go down the Rift with athletes. If you go to Ngong Hills, if you go to parts of Kisii, you will find all this passion, young people trying to, you know, struggling to find even a racetrack to even train, for example. And that is a challenge. Government has been talking about, you know, refurbishment of Kipchoge Keino, Kamarini, and other stadia. And I mean, under the Jubilee administration, with all due respect, yes, they've done their bit, but I think they have also not been good enough. Things have not been moving until, like you rightly pointed out, you know, the last 1 year or 18 months. And you've got to give credit to the leadership, like Ken said, at the ministry at the moment. Of course, the CS, I will mgala ntamua na haki yake ntampa. There are several other things I disagree with the CS in terms of execution, but there are also several other things, especially about the passion to try and deliver sports facilities over the last 1 year. And I think you have to give credit to CS Amina and PS Joe Kudo in terms of how they have pushed the contractors who are, you know, hitherto not doing anything and taking their sweet time. But now we can finally see that facilities are being delivered. So I think now what we need is a synergized approach. And I'm glad that Ken is driving Kenya Vision 2030 in that direction.
Exactly.
And appreciating how valuable sport will be in terms of putting the mosaic of the Kenyan and diaspora citizenry together, getting the other people from out there, investors interested. Now what we need is to see an accelerated synergy in terms of delivery, get all the players together, get all the actors, both state, non-state actors, get them into one room and get
how do you get
moving.
those actors? How do you get those actors, to take the conversation on golf, to another level? Because every time this the Magical Kenya Open, when it comes around, we talk about the need for a public golf course, and you just heard Ken Mwige there talking about development plans, the thoughts that maybe we can have a public golf course around near Lenana School there, and in the past they have even talked about Kasarani, that is a huge piece of land there where we can have the golf course constructed. But then, Milton, just to get the people to act for the sake of golf, what will it really take?
Well, first of all, it has to take a lot of goodwill for this to be achieved. But then it is not just goodwill, it doesn't end there. You need to get the right people, you need to get people with the right attitude and mindset in terms of delivery. The reason why we do not have the public golf course that has been talked for the last decade or so is because you have people whose attitude is government projects are never supposed to be completed. And I'll give you an example. And these are characters, these are individuals that must be called out. The bureaucrats and negative people in government who do not want to see. For example, I'll give you an example. You have government projects that are not being executed because they have to get a consortium of 5-10 consultants doing the same thing. I mean, last night we were having a conversation about a government institution that paid 5 architects to do a plan for a building. And all of them are being paid. At the time of executing, government projects are taking forever to take off because you have people who want to keep eating. They want to keep eating, per diem, going to consult, going to benchmark and all this kind of thing. So Ken and his colleagues must be able to get the right people on the table. Mm-hmm. If you invite Milton and Robin and other people, you know how passionate that some of us have been. And I stand accused for trying to procure a job for myself. But I want to say this without fear of contradiction. That we must be able to now rise up and say enough of this monkey business and Mickey Mouse kind of shenanigans and get the right people on the table. These things will be done. If Joe Okudo and C.S. Amina have been able to get contractors who have been putting equipment in around sports facilities for the last donkey years, and within 1 year we've got progress being realized, contracts are being nullified, and people are saying, look, you must deliver. You either deliver or you ship out, so that the right-minded people like Ken now at Kenya Vision 2030 coming in and saying, look, guys, we must deliver this, and the only way to deliver is to get on the table and say, these are the deliverables. KPIs. Key performance indicators. I mean, there should never be two ways about it, Robin. I mean, if we are talking about sports chart taking off at 8 o'clock and you wake up here every morning, at the end of the day, your KPIs, the checklist is very simple. Why is it that, we keep babysitting and, cotton gloving certain people? We can kick them as hard as they deserve if they are not delivering. So I'm saying the best way to get people to deliver is to get the KPIs very, very clearly outlined, get the people sitting on the table and clear timelines stipulated. If you don't deliver, please, Kenyans, there is no shortage of skill or ability or capacity for that matter.
And the Kenya Open, Kenya Golf Union bears as a witness, because look at the way they have organized the Kenya Open over the years, to the extent now that the European tour has accepted, to put it under its calendar. And now we've even been given the Savannah Classic as part of the European tour. It will be back to back. Immediately after the Kenya Open, we go to Savannah Classic. That is to tell you that we have the people who can do the job, Milton.
Absolutely, and that is what I'm saying. It is about the professionalism, it's about the work ethic, and you've got to give it up to the, Kenya Open Limited. As a brand, they have really worked hard, they've been very professional, they have delivered, and to the extent that the European Tour is actually adding another, event to their calendar, it is telling. And that is what we must embrace. That is the kind of spirit that everyone involved, not just in golf, but anyone involved in sports. And I want to repeat this, Robin. It would sound like a broken record, but there is a level of mediocrity that has been tolerated in many a sport in this country,
sure.
That it makes it look like when Kenya Golf Union and the Kenya Open Limited are doing it, it looks like rocket science, but it is not. There is no shortage of potential and capacity in this country. What we need to do is to embrace the right attitude, put into gear the right work ethic in terms of anything that we do within the meaning of sport. And Kenya Open is, the magical Kenya Open is one perfect example that we now must learn from. And, in the spirit of not rewriting a script, you do not kill a dead lion. Kenya Open Limited and Kenya Golf Union have already demonstrated what it takes, and I think you've got to give it up to the World Rally Championship and the team with the Safari Rally, the Secretariat under Phineas Kimathi, and many other good people who are out there doing the right thing. I think we can get things done. All we need to have is be ruthless about the people that we give specific assignments to undertake, so that then if you do not deliver, then we have no business, having with you around anything that is Kenyan, because this is about the brand called Kenya, and the brand called Kenya is bigger than any one individual can be.
And Ken Mwige there talked about the need for corporates in this country to stand up and be counted, step forward and sponsor some of these athletes. He talks about a top class athlete will need to put in at least 10,000 man hours into training and all that, and that it's time the corporate stepped forward. We've seen the Magical Kenya, KTB, that is through Kenya Tourism Board, coming to sponsor. We've seen EABL coming in. We've now seen Vision 2030. But what is the problem? Why is it that the corporates are not, coming in droves to support our game?
Two things. One, I think you forgot to mention the Standard Group and what they have been doing.
Yes, of course. And we'll have that segment, actually, some of those golfers talking
But I want to say this. Yeah. The problem is twofold. One is that you have boardroom decision makers within the corporate world, and I say this without, again, fear of contradiction. You have decision makers who are They are very good professionals, but they are as good as their degrees ended with marketing in terms of putting one and one together to see and appreciate the value that sport would bring in. Yes. To their brands. Then you have a challenge, and we've had a challenge in terms of decision makers being able to put that one and one together to see the value. Now that is one problem. The other, end of that coin is that you have leadership in sports and government that for lack of a better word, and I say this with a lot of due respect, that is semi-literate and does not want to appreciate that they need to be helped. Because you cannot be a know-it-all. And unfortunately, some of those decision makers do not want to be told. They would dismiss you ab initio because they do not seem to understand what you're trying to push or trying to drive. The media would write, and for the last 16, 17 years, we've been talking about some of these things, and nobody seems to get them. The newspaper columns have gathered enough dust. The video footage from the stories that were done on TV TV or on radio, in terms of the show reels, are probably running themselves hoarse, and the voices are running shrill because of how much people have been talking about it. So in terms of where the problem is, that is how I see it. But, and with the likes of Ken and the leadership of the Standard Group and others, the PS Joe Kudo and others who are now coming in and seeming to embrace, getting the right people into the right job, I think then we are likely to get somewhere. It is going to be, a process. It will take a bit of time before we get there. But I think what we need to do is to give ourselves the benefit of time, create specific, deliverables and key performance indicators with specific milestones in terms of what do we want to achieve and what, period of time is practical. And we've got to be pragmatic. And, it is quite unfortunate. I was looking at the MTP, analysis for the Kenya Vision 2030, 2008 to 2018. And you look at some of the pointers that are given as achievements or challenges, and you really pity some of the people who do those reports, because at the end of the day, some of the things that are being given as challenges do not qualify for challenges, because it is just a question of attitude, recklessness, callousness, and lethargy in the caliber of public servants that we have.
Failure in the past to put the right people in the right places. You talked about sponsorship, and Mwigi also talked about that, and KTN and Standard Group as a whole are the media partners of the Magical Kenya Open through to the Savannah Classic. I don't know if my director could just play me some of those golfers that have been talking, about the significance of Kenyan media, taking up broadcast rights, especially to properties in Kenya. If you can get us that, I'd really appreciate so that we talk to it and over it. Well, at least the captain of Kenya golf team, that is Wangai, he's been talking about the significance of local media, taking up those sports rights. We also had that is Justus Madoya, if we can get that clip, and then you hear what they have to say, the excitement that you can see from those golfers, Milton. If the Kenyan media assumes its rightful position, then it really becomes a big thing for sports.
Obviously, it does. Media is a key partner in terms of, building this kind of brands. And first of all, I'm not saying this because I am here. But I think Standard Group has really taken it, not just with the Magical Kenya Open, but they have also, done football. They've done a few other events, and you can't take it away. Media brings the story. Media tells the story, and in telling that story, then the people get to know. Ken was talking about 500 million people being able to see what the Magical Kenya Open will be about. That is only possible when the media comes in. And a lot of focus will be on international media, but then locally, we've got to get the media partners being able to do it so that the Kenyan people can also get to appreciate the important part that events like the Magical Kenya Open play in terms of positioning the brand that is Kenya to the international community. And I like the fusion that the KTB and the other stakeholders involved in the Magical Kenya Open are trying to bring in as a way of exposing the tourist attractions that we have in the country. So it is a good thing, it is a good idea to bring all these people together, and the media needs to step up. We need to see more synergy, more collaboration in terms of putting out the brands, the different sporting brands that we have, but then most importantly the fusion that events like these are likely to bring in terms of promoting tourism and sports tourism for that matter is very, very important. So that as those golfers, the 150 or so of them, the 100 plus pro golfers that are coming from elsewhere in the world can be able to see and appreciate, take a moment to get to the Mara before they return. And it's a whole, economy that we are building from events like the Magical Kenya Open. So for me, the media, yes, we are doing our part as the media, but I think we need to do more. We've got to get collaboration and partnerships so that it is not just about the reports about the sport itself, but also being innovative in terms of what kind of coverage do we give so that it adds value to the cross-cutting aspect of the events that we have. There is transport that benefits from events like this. Yes. There is hospitality as a sector that benefits from this. There are several other facets of the economy that benefit. So as sports writers, as the media players, we have a duty, we have a responsibility to also ensure that as we fill up our pages, we are not just filling the pages with notebooks about the results and who has beaten who, and who hit that birdie or whatever that will be about, or the hole-in-one, but we're also able to bring that fusion in terms of what other cross-cutting sectors benefit.
And that's why, Milton, if you buy the Standard newspaper today, the sports pages, we have a very interesting story about that is Okello. He was a footballer, but then he quit football. He was playing for Gor Mahia, a big club, but then he went for golf, and we can see today he's really doing fine. He'll be at the Kenya Open come this Thursday. Now, finally, Milton, as we wind up this program, what do you make of the chances of Kenyans, at the Kenya Open? Of course, last time Simon Gige was the top ranked. Do you think we can surprise the Europeans this time round?
Well, it's a question that we've been talking about every year for the last decade or so. I mean, since I started covering Kenya Open as a journalist. Especially
now that this time around there will be no fans at the golf course, so maybe they'll not have the nerves. They can at least hold themselves.
I want to wish every single Kenyan golfer the very best, and I know, Dismas Indiza, the big hitting man, and his colleagues, David Wahu and others. Ngige really surprised us, coming to joint 25th in last year's, the last edition which was held. I want to wish them well. I believe we have the chances to get into the creme de la creme of the Kenya Open, but at this point in time, let us also not give too much pressure to our golfers. We know our handicap, we know the challenges that we've faced once, twice, or too many times. Let's allow our golfers to enjoy their golf, and if they are enjoying their golf, I honestly believe that then we are likely to give the top quality players a run for their money. So all the best to them. I do not want to put any pressure, any expectations, and that is for me as an individual. Because having held a golf club for some time, I want to tell you, if a golfer is enjoying their golf, they will most likely return a good result.
It's a mental game.
Let's wish them all the best.
All the best. And it's a mental game, as Mwigi also said there. You have the physical aspect of the game, but then it's all mental. Now I'm joined by my colleague Jesse Rogers. I don't know if you've been reading around the Kenya Open coming up this week, and are you a golf fanatic?
Well, fanatic is too heavy of a word, perhaps a fan coming up. up in the age of Tiger Woods and the likes, but something that you've said is very important. It's definitely a technical game.
Well,
there's a lot more.
I'm told there's a technical problem with the mic, but then I want to believe that you'll be following up. You'll be following up the golf tournament that is beginning this week. Just as I said as we began the program, it is a big week for Kenya. There's the Magical Kenya Open coming up, and then immediately after that, there'll be the Savannah Classic, which are both European Tour tournaments. Until next week, I've been your presenter, Robin Toskin, and hope that you'll enjoy the Magical Kenya Open. Bye-bye.
This is KTN News.